We are Andy, Melissa, Jack and Oliver.
We're vlogging our lives as we work towards sailing away from the UK.
So we're a sailing channel, a boat restoration channel, a boat maintenance channel, a tiny homes living channel, an off-grid solutions channel, a music channel and a family vlog channel. But we're not actually trying to be any of those things.
So we're just making a vlog, a video log of our lives as we do what we do.
So you are going to see sailing content and boat restoration content and boat maintenance content and tiny homes content and off-grid living content and music content and family vlogging content, but not because we're trying to make particular videos to appeal to a particular audience. It's just that's the kind of stuff we happen to be doing at the moment, so that's the kind of stuff that's going to make its way into our videos at the moment.
What you get with us is just us. We're muddling along, making mistakes as we go, and trust me, we've made plenty of them, but buying this boat wasn't one of them. It has, however, led to some pretty big complications with our plans.
So I want to do a quick roundup on what we absolutely have to get done before we go. I will say though, in terms of the boat herself, she's good to go. We could leave tomorrow. We sailed the boat back from Dartmouth last January and we could untie the lines and go immediately. There are a few critical jobs that are preventing us from leaving tomorrow, but they're not big ones.
The main one is getting this cockpit enclosure finished. We've started now and we can't really leave half a job done.
And that's really about it. There's not actually that much else to do. The anchor is good, the anchor chain's good, the anchor windlass is good, although I do want to make a new plinth for it. The rigging is good, the sails are good, the engine is good, the hull is good. Obviously there's stuff to do. There's lots and lots of varnishing and sanding. There's a little bit of wiring to do, upgrading some electronics, and there's some plumbing to do. But the boat herself is kind of ready to go.
Well, yes, that is an issue. Our plan is to get her in the water, or at least ready to launch, so whoever buys her has the option of moving her away by water. As you know, we've got a welder booked to finish the last few little bits, and then it's just a reassembly job and she's ready to float. If we leave before we sold her, then it will mean travelling back here to work on her and to sell her. But she's also our biggest anchor to North Wales now, and that's causing a lot of stress and anxiety for us. But we've put so much work into this boat and we would really love and we intend to see her in the water. But the reality is, if somebody makes us an offer now, then we need to let her go. So if you're interested in buying her, please do get in touch. But in the meantime, we're going to plug away working on her, so her value will only go up as she gets closer to being able to launch. I've been doing lots of research about where we could go for the winter, and we wanted to be in the Med by now, or at least down on the south coast. But with the delays that we've had with the cockpit enclosure, I had some complications towards the end of the pregnancy. It's kind of set us back a bit. Obviously with a new baby, crossing Biscay this time of year isn't realistic. Obviously unless you're Ian and Nat and the guys from Millennial Falcon who are doing it in October on a Spirit, but we're not them, and in any case we want to do it slowly and really enjoy it on the way.
Ollie's crying as we're doing this piece to camera, which is always good. So Melissa did look into lots and lots of marinas on the south coast, but they're all really, really expensive. No surprise there. And the ones that we really like the look of are too shallow for our deep keel. We have been offered a very good price to stay put here for a little while, so we're not in a panic. We don't have to get out of here immediately. It wasn't like Mark had to get out, you know, of the yard that he was in, so we're not under that kind of pressure, which is nice, but we do want to leave. So it's not set in stone by any means, but staying here a little while longer to get Still Melody sold, in the water stroke sold, to get the few little bits finished on this boat that we want to get finished, and with the rest of the stuff we can do along the way, seems like a no-brainer. Having said that, of course, if anybody watching the channel now, you maybe, has got a mooring on the south coast or on our en route down there that they are not using over the winter and would let us have cheap or for free for a few months, then that would be a very, very attractive thing, and it would be nice to get out of here, sail away, not too far, so we can still get back to work on Still Melody, and not too far so that we can still get the work done on the on the cockpit enclosure and what have you. But it would be nice to get out of here if anybody does have a mooring that they're not using over winter. So none of this is absolutely set in stone yet. The other factor, of course, is the weather. Now we're coming into British winter here now, for those of you that don't live in the UK, and in this neck of the woods we get brutal weather around about November for a bit, and then we get a little bit after Christmas, sometimes in January and early February. So the plan is, unless we get offered a really good rate on a mooring somewhere else, we'll stay put here until after that spell of really brutal weather has gone, which will give us a chance to get Still Melody gone, and to finish those little jobs on the boat. So the pledge that we're making is we will definitely be gone from here as soon as the bad weather is past in January or early February, and be heading off, and it may even be sooner than that if we possibly can. Well, that's a really good question. We actually sailed Ocean Melody, if you remember, from Dartmouth round Land's End, kind of clockwise round the UK up to North Wales. So what we've thought would be a really cool thing to do before we leave the UK will be continue north, go up past the Lake District, up to Scotland, either through the Caledonian Canal or round the top, and then down the east coast, past the Norfolk Broads, up the Thames a little bit from London, then round to Brighton and along the south coast back to Dartmouth. And then we've done a full circumnav of the UK before leaving UK waters, so to speak, which would be a fantastic experience for us. Great for you guys to see, because a lot of sailing channels come to the UK and don't tend to film that much. Cadoa do.
This staggeringly beautiful landscape is the coastline of Great Britain, an island nation which I call home. Come and explore this nation's best kept coastal secrets and its most hidden of treasures with my friends, the crew of Cadoa.
Salty Lass do. But there's a lot of channels that visit the UK and never really do that much sailing here, and it's great sailing around here, so that would be good. But after the brutal winter weather, we might be sick of the cold and just head straight south and get to the Channel Islands and then France and Portugal and head down round Biscay. Whatever we do though, we're going to be port hopping and doing it really slowly. And I'd actually like your input on that. What do you think we should do? Do you think we should just get the heck out of Dodge, go south and get to warmer weather and get to the Med and get away from the brutal cold, horrible, drizzly UK? Or do you think that we should do that circumnav, see the beautiful Scottish Highlands and the Scottish lochs, and see the, you know, the North Sea and all that the UK has to offer before leaving? Because once we leave, it might be a long time before we get back. Congratulations, by the way, to Sailing Yacht Florence, who have just made it back to the UK after 7 years. Massive congratulations to you guys. So what now? Well, let's say tomorrow, because you've watched this video, you ring us up and go, I'll buy Still Melody off you, and then somebody else the same day rings us up and goes, we've got a mooring for you that you can use on the south coast and you can have it for free because I'm not going to use it, you can get there anytime in October. We would be out of here immediately if we could sell Still Melody and get down to the south coast. We still have got to get the cockpit enclosure finished before we leave, so that's the biggie. But that aside, if we could tick off those two boxes, moving Still Melody on and getting a mooring, a cheaper mooring than here down on the south coast, because it doesn't make sense to get a mooring that's more expensive than where we are and that's more less convenience for more expense. It just doesn't make sense, does it, guys? Got to think with our heads, not our hearts here. But we would be out of here like a shot if we could get Still Melody gone and a better, nicer, cheaper marina than where we are now. And the thing is, look at this place, it's beautiful. Carnarvon is beautiful, the people are lovely, the marina is fantastic. We're not staying here forever, we're itching to get gone. But it's not a bad place to spend a few months over winter. And while we are here over winter, getting those bigger jobs done like the cockpit enclosure, there's lots of other things that we can just be ticking off along the way. And in this episode, you're about to see us just tick off a whole load of smaller jobs, which are not great, not grand, not special, but all need doing.
Currently, I am cleaning out all the water that's accumulated in the bottom of the fridge. We don't have a working fridge on this boat. We did temporarily and it broke. The compressor for this fridge that came with the boat was out of commission, so we're using ice bags at the moment in the bottom of the fridge. Unfortunately, that means when the bags melt, the fridge fills up with water. and with anything on the boat. I'm trying to do the washing up, but I've looked in the fridge and ended up in the bottom of the fridge cleaning it out. And unfortunately we're probably going to have no fridge for a little while because moving out of the house onto the boat has completely broke us. Which is fine, we can manage. Ice is fine, and we just have to shop more often than I'd like to. We probably moved on the boat a bit prematurely, but it's a big step that we really needed to take. But currently, most of our time is just spent moving tools and stuff from one location to another.
If you want to do any job, the tool that you will need is guaranteed in the most inaccessible place, even though you only used it yesterday.
Yeah.
And you have to move everything to get to it. So like now I'm thinking of a job that I want to do this afternoon, and I know for a fact that the tool for it is underneath the forepeak, and that means bedding off, forepeak mattress off, everything off, and then all the boards out. And at the minute, I'm just trying to sort out the tools from the job of doing the diesel heater, because they've just not been put away.
And on the subject of the diesel heater, yesterday Andy routed the piping into the aft cabin.
Following on from last week's video, Autoterm got in touch with us and have made us brand ambassadors, which is really cool, which means we can now offer you a 5% discount off their diesel heaters by going to their store, which is www.autoterm.store, and using promo code SailingMelody5%.
And we have put down somewhere the divider, the T-piece.
The T-piece.
So we've put a bit in the bathroom, and we need to carry it on through into Jack's aft cabin, and we put it down somewhere and we can't find it. So we're tearing the boat apart to find out where it is. We just hope that it hasn't blown
I hope
off
it hasn't.
into the
I didn't
sea.
put it on the side deck of the boat for a minute and it's rolled off into the sea, but I think that's what I've done, which is really bad because I don't like ever dropping anything in the sea ever. So I feel awful about that. And we've lost a piece. It's just a T connector.
Yeah, we'll ring Planar if by the time
Autoterm. We'll ring Autoterm and get another one. It's not a
by the
problem,
time we've trashed the boat looking for it. Hopefully it will just be in plain sight.
Hopefully. Right, so in order to get some semblance of organisation in the boat, I'm literally going through every single compartment and making an audited inventory of every single thing we have and where it can be found, from tools to spare engine parts to electrical components to future upgrades we have yet to install. What I'm hoping to do with that spreadsheet data is take it across into SQL, and from there I can make it into a phone app which anybody who comes aboard can use, so if anyone's sailing with us and needs to know where to find the duct tape or a 10mm spanner, they can locate it instantly.
Just cleaning out another locker so we can store stuff in here, tools and things like that.
Engine spares. And where's that going? Top shelf at the back.
Yeah.
Something else I did the other day that I haven't showed you yet was put a false floor, a wooden floor in the bottom of the cockpit locker. A couple of reasons. One, the floor is kind of curved where the shape of the hole, so when you stand trying to do anything in there, you're kind of slithering around, which isn't very safe. And there's no flat surface to put anything down. And secondly, now that I've got the bilge pumps in, which I did with Jonathan a few weeks ago, those pipes kind of going to go underneath the false floor, along with a bit of wiring, and it means that if we drop anything in there, it's not going to crimp those pipes, or if we jump in there, we're not going to stand on them. The other thing that's under there is there's a paddle wheel, and obviously they're plastic, so I don't want to drop anything on that. So having the flat floor down there means there's room to stand to load and unload stuff from the cockpit locker, which is brilliant. And I do want to say a word about the diesel tank as well. A lot of you mentioned the diesel tank that I've put in for the diesel heater. That's the one supplied with it, with the pipework that was supplied, with the pump that was supplied. It's perfectly adequate. Anything else that I do will be considered an upgrade. So upgrades I may almost certainly do in the future will be upgrade to a more robust tank, put in some proper fuel line, some marine grade fuel line. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It doesn't leak, so I'm happy and comfortable. It's safe for now, until the foreseeable future. but I'm going to put in a lift pump to fill the header tank from the main diesel tank. I don't like running diesel heaters from the main tank because it draws down your engine diesel and you're not always keeping an eye on that. So I'll probably upgrade to a better tank, some better fuel line and a lift pump at some point, but I don't need to do that for now. All I need to do is get on and finish P-clipping those cables up and tie wrapping a few things to make it look neat. But the system's working great, and I've got it, as you've seen, routed through into the aft cabin now. The way it's routed into the aft cabin, the heat comes out of the diesel heater here. I need to put a clip around that, but through here, down here, this is just the hot air, and then it carries on down this 90mm pipe through the engine bay and into the saloon. It tees off then to an adapter to this 60mm yellow, which goes through that bulkhead and into the aft cabin. And I've also then used a length of the 60mm to completely shield the entire exhaust system, so we've got the fiberglass sock that goes over it, plus this shielding. This doesn't even get warm to touch. It literally doesn't even get warm. One thing I do want some advice on is that's the air intake for it. At the minute it's just taking fresh air from the cockpit locker, and according to the instructions, if it's a well ventilated space, which this is, you know, it's a huge space and it's not full of stuff, so I'm happy with that. But I feel like there may be a better solution to that. And the other thing that people mentioned was the exhaust outlet. The exhaust outlet, which is there, right? Now, I completely agree with you. Really, that ought to be pointing upwards and go up and then back down, so that no water can go up it. This is not a tender boat, so we don't tend to lean over on our ear anyway, so getting seawater up there is highly unlikely. And I think even if you've got a little bit of a loop, it wouldn't help, because if the boat is actually leant over that far and is pumping up and down in the water, any little loop, the water's just going to go straight up and over it anyway. So I don't think that will really help. I would like to, but it's not possible with the way that I've got that coming out through the gunnel. What it needs to happen is I need to close that pipe off completely in those conditions. So again, that's an upgrade I'm going to make, and it might just be a simple matter of a bung, making a nicely made bung that you just lean over the side and pop it in on a lanyard, so you can pull it out, and then a reminder over the control unit of the diesel heater, have you removed the bung? In the same way that you would put a reminder on your key when you start your engine, have you turned your stopcocks on for your raw water? So things like that, so that to make sure that nobody ever starts the heater with the bung in, because that would be really bad. But I think that's going to be the solution. Putting in the dog leg, I don't think will help us really. It would be a nice to do, but I think that the bung is a better solution for that. So anyway, there were lots of you commented on that, and lots of really good advice and comments, so thank you very much. It was really helpful. Right, another little job I need to do today. This socket down here has never worked. So some of you may have noticed we've got a blue extension cable which goes through the bilge and plugs into the one the other end. So I'm going to just figure out what the voltage is across that, because when you plug something into this, nothing happens. Right, so there is some voltage there, but I'm getting 70 volts, which to me seems like there must be a fault somewhere further back in the line. So I'm going to start at the RCD.
So eventually, one day, we'll have to do a complete galley makeover, but for now it just needs to be functional. And the door has come off because this piece of wood has come off. What we're going to need to do is, or what I'm going to do, is clamp and glue this bit, and then move the hinges. Basically have just come off loads of times and just been screwed back in to the same place. What I'm going to do is glue and clamp this on, and then I'm going to fill these with wood and glue them where the hinges went and let it set over time. So for a while I'll have no door here while it all dries and sets. there you go, I've got these clamps on. They'll stay there for a bit while it dries. This, you're probably looking at the shoddy.
Oh yeah, we're going to veneer all of that.
Probably looking at the shoddy veneer here, but we're actually going to remove that and re-veneer it. So storing food is fun. I've put a load of cans up on the top shelf in this cupboard, and I realised that I can't see what they are. So I've got quite a few that came from the house. My sister's just moved out of her pub, so she's given me loads of tins of stuff that they used in the kitchen, like coconut milk and stuff, and I didn't want it to go to waste. So I thought we can use that. But I'm actually going to write on top of all the tins. So when I look in the cupboard, I can see what tins they are. So I've got like coconut milk, for example. And if I look in there, if I write on top of them, I can see what they are. Now I know once we get into warmer climates where there's cockroaches and things like that, you're meant to actually remove the labels, the paper labels off the tins. And I've watched lots of sailing channels that it's kind of a Russian roulette as to what's in the tin, because the words have gone off the top and there's just a random tin floating around.
As you know, our bilge pump pipes go up here, and I don't like the fact that they're so close to the electrics. Really, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be moving all of this to that side of the boat where our Victron MPPT is, our Victron Multiplus is, our MPPTs are. I want everything electrical on starboard and I want everything water on port. All in good time. I can't do everything all in one go, but I do want to get that socket working and troubleshoot that. So it's this consumer unit, which is the one that supplies the boat. And I've got to take the front off to access that. And we should be able to see which one of those is giving us that funny voltage reading. We've actually got 240 volts being supplied into each one of these breakers. There are 4 breakers supplying 4 different rings, or the 4 different circuits. Number 1 is giving me 240 volts out. Number 2, 240 volts out. Number 4, 240 volts out. Number 3, which is the offending culprit, actually was on. Goodness only knows how, but it was on. But there's obviously a fault. It's not here because it's tripping the breaker every time. So that's off. Now I'm just looking at the patency of the connections and the cable, and here it all looks good. It goes up here and into a piece of conduit, which is going to make its way along the back of the galley. Right. So Melissa's found the conduit.
Yeah, so here, can you see it at the top of this cupboard?
Oh, is it?
Here,
right at the back there?
I can feel pipe, and when you're wiggling it, so it goes through there.
I think there's a piece of board at the back of these shelves, the bookshelf and these cupboards, which have got all of our audiovisual equipment, and I reckon the conduit goes all the way there, through there, into the bathroom,
where the shaver socket,
to the shaver socket, and has got a junction box where the shaver socket is. Okay, so what's in here is okay, so this is the one coming in. That one goes to the shaver socket, it's a spur, and this one goes down to the socket in the galley, in the saloon. Check the voltage. It's all turned off at the moment, don't panic. Okay, what's interesting is that even with everything disconnected here, so that's just a continuous piece of wire from the fuse board, the breaker, to here, and the breaker is still tripping. So I wonder if it's just a faulty breaker. What I'm going to do next is connect that line to a different breaker and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to turn the whole system off. I'm actually going to unplug everything. So there is now no electricity coming into the boat at all. So that's good. Okay, 240, 240, 240, 240. And that one is still only giving us 80 volts. It's this breaker that's the problem. It's just that one breaker. So that's all I need, is to go and get another one of them. Let's go and test the voltage at the other end of there. Hang on. Well, that was awkward to wire back together. I haven't put the front on there because I still need to test it. But I'm going to go and put the power on and test the power to this and the other socket now. Okay, let's test that. We've now got 240 there. We will have 240 there. Just unplug you. I'll go in there. Switch you on. Yeah, that socket's now working. Now, so the only thing I've got to do now to sort that permanently is change that trip switch in the consumer unit. Shop shut today, so I'll get one of those tomorrow, but I'm going to put it all back together. We've got a fully working electrical system again. The whole ring main in the boat now works. Awesome. So is it safe for me in the meantime to put both of those spurs, if you like, both of the ring mains through one of the breakers? I can't see why not. It's only the same as another spur, and the amount of power that we're drawing in this boat is really, really tiny compared to a house. So of course, remember, these are domestic stuff. They're it's domestic stuff. It's very, very short runs compared to a house. I can't see why I can't, until I can replace that trip switch in the box. I can't see why I can't put both wires into the same trip switch. I can't think of a reason why not. It'll just trip. If there's too much load on it, it will just trip, won't it? So I'm going to do that. It might be the wrong thing to do, but either way, tomorrow I'll get another trip switch. Right, so let me just show you what I've done. I don't know if you can read those, but you've got the main breaker on the left. Then number 1 says Galley. Number 2 says aft cabin. Number 3 says saloon and shaver. And it's saloon and shaver was the one it's the faulty one. And number 4 is immersion heater. The immersion heater is not even on all the time. So what I've done is I've wired the saloon cable, the positive, into the same breaker as the immersion heater for now, because I've got to take that out and change it, and that means disassembling the whole RCD box to get that one out and change it. And the shops are all shut now today anyway, so that's fine. I can do that tomorrow. But I can't see a problem with just switching the spur for the saloon onto the one that's the immersion heater, where if it does overload, it'll just trip anyway, but it's not doing. And we can just turn the immersion heater off because we've got hot water anyway. But what it does mean is that this blue extension cable, which we've had running from the Galley to supply the television and the PlayStation and a few other things in the lounge, in the saloon, I can get rid of that now because we don't need it. Right, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. We've got a question to ask you, along with should we go for the circumnav of the UK before we leave? Should we head south if we can get a mooring before winter? We've got another question to ask you. We were talking earlier, now that we're just living on YouTube money, whether we should do 2 shorter episodes a week. Lately, a lot of our episodes have been quite long, 30 to 40 minutes, and sometimes I feel like they're a bit too long, and a few of you commented on that. Some people message us saying, we love the longer episodes, please keep doing them. Other people don't like them so much, and we do see views kind of tail off on the longer episodes. So we actually wonder if it would be better to release 2 shorter, 2 15-minute episodes per week. And I think we're going to do a trial run of that, but please give us your feedback on that. In the meantime, again, thanks so much for watching. If you do want to become a patron and support the channel further and get more access to the videos early and access to the WhatsApp group and access to be able to message us directly, go to the link in the description, which is PayPal/Sailing Melody. Thank you so much to our amazing patrons and supporters, and any of you that have contributed through Coffee and PayPal. All those links are in the description as well. So do leave us a comment on any of the stuff that you've seen in the video, particularly about the business of whether we should have more than one episode per week and the route that we should take when we leave here. Give us a like, give us a thumbs up, and see you next time on Sailing Melody. Bye.